Hello again. My name is Kevin Kelly. I'm the head of advocacy with the NCBI. Over recent weeks, there's been a lot of media speculation around what was going to happen with the Leaving Cert. And here in NCBI, in conjunction with our children and young persons team, we thought we would focus on that issue today and speak to one of our service users who is sitting the exams now at the end of July instead of June. So I'm delighted to say I'm joined by Patrick Hennessy, who is from Dungarvan in Waterford. Patrick, thanks for joining me.
Pleasure to be here, Kevin. Thank you very much.
Patrick, uncertain times, I would say, when you went back to school in September and you were making your plans for the year, you never thought that the exams could be delayed for almost 2 months.
Not at all, Kevin. There was absolutely no indication, obviously, in September, even after Christmas, that that there was talks, obviously, of the COVID-19 by January and early January and stuff. But really, no one expected it. Even when I left school, there are books I still don't have because when I left on the whatever mid March, we thought we were going to be gone for 2 weeks, and then that would be it. And no one really, until it happened, expected this to blow up the way it did.
You're out of school now since the middle of March, and even the closing of the schools has kind of happened quite suddenly. And you mentioned there that you're without some of your textbooks.
I'm without. What I just mean to say, my point really is, I have online materials and stuff. But the point I'm trying to make, I suppose, is that we left the school, you know, so sure that it would just be the 2 weeks, that there were certain things that I knew, there's certain materials I knew I wouldn't need. And I suppose the point I'm trying to make is what has happened, since then, and the impact that has had.
Yeah, no, it must be really challenging. So everything is very much online at the moment. And I suppose being a student with a vision impairment, we do things maybe a lot more than other students on a normal basis in terms of using technology. Has that made it easier or more challenging?
Unfortunately, it's made it very challenging for me because I actually go to a Gael school. So as a result of that, I do all my examinations and my schoolwork, well, aside from English, through the medium of Irish, and therefore my studies, are actually doubly difficult because I use a Braille note taker, and that, at the moment I don't actually have access to email on that, so I'm kind of trying to bring files from one place to another the whole entire time, from the laptop to the Braille note taker and to the phone and all sorts of places, because there's no currently up, that to my knowledge, there's no currently working Irish screen readers. So as a result of that, I'm trying to transfer files kind of a lot of the time, and that's interfering with my study time. It all comes into the amount of time I have to study, and with already lacking motivation, having to do that as well as everything else is just very difficult.
Yeah, motivation is really key for everyone when you're preparing for exams, and I suppose it can be quite difficult when the goalposts are moving. Did you find a lot of the media speculation around what was going to happen with the exams very distracting?
In the sense, certainly. I mean, the media speculation, I suppose, rumors came out, and I suppose especially when the oral exams were cancelled, I believe that not only did that leave some of us feeling a bit hard done by, in a sense, even though we'd received full marks in the orals. Certain people, and I went to an Irish school since I've been going to an Irish school since Montessori, so I would have hoped that I would have been at an advantage to other students, but now we all have 100%. So I suppose this sort of the different media speculation, I suppose, that followed that, and the conclusions we all drew naturally from that. You kind of start to wonder if the exemptions are just going to start rolling in from there.
Yeah. And do you treat your day now as if it's a school day in terms of structure, and are you able to remain focused?
I try, Kevin, is the absolute answer. To be honest, I think motivation is very difficult at the moment, and I think you can slide and become quite distracted and unfocused and stuff. Because I'm somebody, and I can only speak for myself personally, because other students, are in different situations, and not everyone is in the position I'm in. But personally, I find it very difficult to study at home. So I kind of do what I can, and kind of hope, I do what I can throughout the day, and hope I've done enough. And some days I'll do more than others, but it can be very difficult at home to self motivate. Now, I do go to all my classes, and the fact that they have started up helps because there's that interaction. You can ask questions. There's a bit of a social side to that. So I suppose in that regard, that does help.
And what platform are your school using to deliver those classes at the moment?
This very platform we're using now, Microsoft Teams.
Very good. And you find that easy to use. Do you think that out of this, you'll become more of an online digital learner?
Microsoft Teams, I don't find it amazing. I use it on my phone as opposed to on the laptop, purely for convenience, to be able to move around the house with it and stuff, so that the family, is usually going around, and it's usually, that there's different things going on. So it's easier to have the phone portable and be able to move around the house. But I find the conversation tab and such quite difficult to use. Files are okay, but the conversation tab itself is quite difficult.
Very good. I think we're all beginning to become somewhat more familiar with all of these platforms, and I've only recently started to use Microsoft Teams, and in fact, we've only started to use it recently in the organization. And I suppose in the world of COVID-19, it has been a blessing because it's allowed us to offer our services and do interviews like this in a virtual manner. And I believe after school you're hoping to do radio.
That's right, radio broadcasting. Yeah, yeah. In Cork, in Colossus Stefan Nefa, which is a very highly regarded radio course, by the way, and it's one of the only ones in the country which offers, kind of, I suppose, the opportunities it does. There are people who go on straight into radio careers after the 2 years of doing it. Others who go to Coláiste to do like in Dublin and get their level 8 after another year. So it really is a fantastic, it's a great course and a great area for someone like me. And I believe that, I suppose for someone with a visual impairment, it's got a lot of there are a lot of pros to doing something like radio broadcasting, where, and I know there's the production side to it, obviously, which is computers and stuff, but there is ways and means around things like that, so it's not certainly not impossible.
Yeah. And where did your love for radio come from? Have you always been interested?
Well, I mean, certainly as a child, I listened to a lot of radio, so I suppose at that point it wasn't really, I suppose, as much of something I considered. I suppose when you're young, a very little, a very small child, you don't really think about the things you like. They're just things you enjoy doing, and it's that simple. But I suppose as I got older, I started to get more curious, and when I got my first laptop, I started to kind of explore more into it, and I've had some experience on local and community radio. So I've been in there, and I've been in the studio, so I've broken that. I've gotten that far, so as to sort of get my first on air experience and all that sort of stuff. So I've done all that, so that helps with the confidence and that.
Yeah, no, that'll certainly be a huge advantage to you when, fingers crossed, you start the course at some point later this year. And do you have a favorite show or presenter that you really like?
I'll say I like music shows. I love music in general, which kind of goes hand to hand with so is my and I enjoy listening to podcasts. But I must say, one of my favorite radio presenters, hands down, is Niall Boylan, who he does a sort of like LBC in the UK. He does our version of that, if you like. He's an Irish talk show host who does a phone-in show both in the afternoon and in the evening, and just brings the public on. And I think that's one of the most important things about radio. He gives the public a voice. It's not some politician. Well, sometimes he brings in guests, obviously, but it's not a politician. It's not the government. It's not any particular, TD or councillor or whoever, or doctor or whatever. It's the people. And I think that's what radio is essentially about. It's about giving a voice to the people and a platform for the people to get their voices heard.
Yeah, no, he really does present a very edgy show, and it's very entertaining. Patrick, I suppose I'm going to give you your opportunity now to speak as an ordinary person. What can the government, the Minister for Education, or anyone involved in the Leaving Cert do for you in the coming weeks in the run up to the exams?
Well, I think the most important thing for any student, vision impaired or otherwise, is clarity. And I'm aware that it's said, but I suppose that there's speculation that is to be changed, and there's apparently a meeting to be had on Friday where things will be discussed and stuff. I think the biggest thing for all students around the country, and it's very difficult to pinpoint for people, with disabilities. Obviously, people have different needs and stuff. But I think, as I said there, generally across the board, that the most important thing, the key thing at the moment, is to get clarity on a deadline, a goal, a date set specifically that we can aim for to say, look, this is the date. No matter what else happens, no matter what platform we're using, because we don't know, no matter what format there is, this is the date of the Leaving Cert, and this is what we're working towards.
That's a very good point. Well made, Patrick. Thanks for joining me today.
No problem whatsoever, Kevin. It's been a pleasure. Thank you very much.
That was Patrick Hennessy, a Leaving Cert student from Dungarvan in Waterford, speaking to me about his experience of school life and the run up to the delayed Leaving Cert in this COVID-19 world that we all live in. As always, you can check out ncbi.ie or our social media channels for lots of interesting content and the latest news. And remember, our national support line is available on 1850 33 43 53.